Nature's whispers call, and the rustling leaves and trees. The quiet moments I frame it in. Feel the oceans of my life reclined in the rising tide, and the love I had for you inside.
Hello, everyone. This is your president and
Vice President.
here of the SFO YAB.
Woo.
We're back with another episode, and once again, I'll be hosting today's episode. And so, like last week's episode, we're gonna be doing a little bit different. We're gonna go unscripted. We're not necessarily going to be talking about other members of the youth or anything too controversial. We're just gonna be providing insight on our own life. Yahoo! So today's episode, as can probably be picked up from the title, is going to be talking about music. And when we refer to music, I wanted to talk about music's impact on our lives. I know for me, being in tune with music since day one of my being, actually before that, even before I was born, my family made sure that we were in tune with our musical talent, because everyone in my family plays an instrument or is related to the arts in some way. Whether it be my brother, where he plays the most percussion instruments, he's an actor, he does a lot of things in the music industry, just the entertainment industry in general. And my mom played some instruments, my uncles, they played the saxophone, the flute. My aunt was a classically trained pianist before giving it up for a life outside of the arts, which is okay. But even before I was a day one for lifer kind of person, I was in tune with the arts. So I can talk about my experience a bit. Since day one, my mom has always played influential, positive music for us, for me and my brother. So before I was a day one kid, she would put headphones on her belly and put classical music. I never had a problem with that because I love music. Music is me. And after I was a day one individual, and even now, I still like watching the shows that are specifically in tune with music. And when I was little, that was Little Einsteins. And still today, I listen to the playlist that people made on Spotify for that show, because that was most of what I watched growing up. I think that show ran from 2005 to 2008. So being someone that was born within that time frame, that was the perfect opportunity for me to be in tune with specifically what my mom has been conditioning me, if that's the right word, to like. So that even meant buying me the movies that were made from that show, and it just became my pop culture. And in my family, we have specific jokes or specific things related to that show, amongst other shows that are specifically tied to music. And that's why I love the arts so much. And even when I joined band, I didn't want to join band, but I knew I wanted to get out of gym. And I was like, I don't want to do gym in high school, because if you didn't do marching band or band in general for the 4 years, you had to do gym. And at the time I couldn't swim, so I was like, I'm not doing that. So I joined band and choir in middle school with the perspective of getting out of gym. Now, I didn't know what I wanted to play in band in 6th grade at the time, but I looked towards the shows I really liked, and I was like, ooh, I don't want to be playing the trumpet. I don't want to be Quincy from Little Einsteins. I don't want to be Annie or Leo, because they sang, and June, she does ballet. And I did ballet too. So again, there's very much a lot of crossover with the things I like to do based on how I grew up or what shows I watched as a little kid. And I ended up turning towards what my family did in their real life. So I picked what my second oldest uncle does, and he was a flautist, oopsie, and that's what I wanted to be as well, and because it was one of the cheapest instruments I could get. And at first I didn't enjoy it because I was kind of forced into it. My mom would said that's one of the cheapest options and your uncle plays it, so you're gonna be doing that too. Originally I picked the saxophone like my other uncle, but yeah, I'm happy with our decision to play the flute. It was convenient for me and I ended up loving it. But additionally, like I said, some of the characters in Little Einsteins were singers, and I ended up joining choir too. Now, that was for a plethora of reasons. It was like an ode to the show, but also is because I wanted to follow my brother's footsteps because he was singing and doing and getting a lot of opportunities to perform because he's musically inclined, he's musically gifted, and he also joined band when he was in middle school. So there's a lot of crossovers between the things that we like to do. But growing up, Little Einsteins wasn't even the only show that I was attracted to with the arts. Even currently, I'm rewatching Glee. I'm finally on the last season, of Glee, and that's one of my favorite shows of all time because I just love to sing. I love the arts. I love anything that can just get you in a mood without you having to do anything. It's just you sitting and watching people enjoy their craft, enjoy something that they've been doing their entire life. Like the main character, Rachel Berry or Leah Michelle, she's been a Broadway baby since 5 years old. She's musically inclined, and I love seeing people, whatever it is actually, be in tune with their craft and enjoy what they're doing. Because if someone's enjoying what they're doing, 9 times out of 10, you'll enjoy watching them just exist. Sometimes you can be envious or a D1 hater, but me, I just love that show so much. And other shows, I wouldn't say they're musically related, but shows that are interactive. Like, wait, Dora had music. I love Dora too. I also like
Backpack.
okay. I also like Wow Wow Wubbzy, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Any shows that had music, I was there for it. I was livid because I just
Hot dog.
yes, because I just love the interaction and the feelings that you get from music. And even to this day, now that I'm not in band, I gave that up in 10th grade, mostly because I realized that I wouldn't be happy with how our school was treating the arts, and they took away a lot of our opportunities to be in tune with our gifts, where a lot of seniors had to give up the arts because of core requirement classes. But I gave up the arts because I wanted to end where I started. And in elementary, at a whole different school district, I had one of my favorite teachers of all time. He was one of the few people that introduced me to the arts. And after moving schools, actually, it was before that. He had to go to another school because there was a lot of music teachers in the district. And like 2nd or 3rd grade, I got a new music teacher. So I was like, this lame. She's not the same. I didn't really feel the passion for music. Like, I still loved it, but I didn't want to be in a class where the teacher wasn't passionate for what they were doing. She was just doing it to collect a check, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you can feel the difference as a kid or just as an individual in general when someone's doing it for the love of the sport or love of their craft rather than doing it for a check or just because they have to do that position. And getting to high school, I didn't want to be at that school anyways, but when I found out one of my beloved teachers was teaching there, I was like, okay, I was going to give up playing the flute. I didn't want to play it in high school. I did it because I knew I wouldn't have to do gym. And once I found out that he was going to be teaching, I was enjoying every second of it. I loved being there. And when it came time for junior year, they didn't want to give him a full-time position, which was disheartening to the entire band and choir kids because he wanted it. We all wanted it, but the school said no. So they hired an interesting individual to take his place that didn't have the same qualifications as him, and it just made band a not so great experience, and I didn't want that. So I decided to give up my love in pursuit of other things, which is okay. That's okay. But as a result of that, that opened other doors for me, like my pursuit of theater, which goes from the fact that my family is a music family. We love the arts, so we like musicals. And I realized that my passion for choir and the arts doesn't have to stop because a teacher left. I decided to join a choir with my brother in my free time, and that really inspired me to be an actor in my school, even if I didn't like the play that we were putting on. So it was just things like that that really impacted my life and changed it for the better. Now, I did have regrets because I knew that I loved acting. I was just too scared to put myself out there. So now that I was a main character in one of the school plays, I'm pursuing that in college. Yay! Even though I'm not majoring or minoring in theater, I'm still going to help out if I want to, or even act if I have the opportunity, which they said I do. So, VP, do you have any experiences like that? I know you said you're not that in tune with the arts, but that's okay too.
I have a really good, close relationship with music. I know a lot of people, they need music to be a constant in their lives. They have to listen to it almost every second, whether they're eating, in the bathroom, or in the shower,
Me.
a certain someone.
Yeah.
But
Phone damage.
it did sprout a community, because I was in the editing community for around 5 to 6 years so far. And within the editing community, music is a central part of it. We go through the trends of popular music, or maybe even finding some underground ones that slowly rise up and get attention through the editing community. And I've been able to make a lot of close friends through that specific way, because we connected with the music. And the thing about music is that it sprouts different types of emotion based on what it is, and that's what always piqued my interest, because I could literally post a TikTok that says Kim Kardashian lost her diamond earring, and I could put sad music over it, and because of the sad music, people are gonna feel inclined to sympathize or have empathy for that situation, even though no one cares about it. But if I put some dumb silly music on there, then people are gonna make fun of her and just laugh it off and stuff. And it's
We're not gonna say bullying is okay, but
we're not saying bullying is okay.
music evokes certain emotions.
Yeah, music evokes a lot of different emotions, and it's interesting to see especially on TikTok, how people just are easily swayed with the emotion that overcomes them while they're listening to whatever music is put on. I feel it has a hypnotic effect where people get really easily influenced by the song. But if you turn it off and just read the message on its own, then you kind of gather your own opinion that isn't swayed by the music. And that's not saying that music is a bad thing, but I think it's just really interesting to see the very easy effect it has on people, because music, for sure, because of the frequencies within it, it has a really easy way of making our brain see things in a completely different light. And that is both a good and bad thing, because it helps us romanticize life and just see things in a more, better light. But it also makes us very distracted and also not see things in a realistic light. And I think the issue is that we need a balance of both, having a romanticized vision but also a realistic vision. Because if we're too realistic, or if we're too in this more fantasy type vision, then
Rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, rose tinted glasses, that's a good phrase. Then we don't really have a proper grasp on what we're dealing with, and it's really good to be aware of what's influencing you. But
if you're pessimistic,
look at the music you're listening to, because I feel especially sad music, it has a way to really just amplify what you're feeling. And I know a lot of people I talk to, when they're sad, they say they put on more sad music, and that's definitely not helping them. It's making it 10 times worse. Sometimes it's best to just turn it off and like focus on the reality of the situation you're in instead of just making it 10 times worse for yourself. Because if I listen to Mitski while I'm like depressed, I don't think I'd be making it out. Like, I'd be too sad to like even go about my day. So that's why it's good to be really careful with what you consume, even if it is music. Just pay attention to how it impacts you and what you think, especially like with like reels or like TikTok. It's really easy for people to just like manipulate the way you see something with the little things like music or like the way they phrase certain things. So just being careful about it is like essential to having a really good grasp on yourself and your opinions on everything.
You brought up a good point. You said music can be hypnotic. There have been points in history where music has been used to hypnotize people, where I think it was one of the points was like the dancing plague. We still don't know how that went down,
Oh, that's so creepy.
but there has been there have been points in there have been points in time where music has been the best thing for us. It's been very healing, as music has, like especially classical music, can be seen healing people, literally healing people, and that's something that science can't explain. But again, it's the frequencies and the frequency that you consume that music or that type of art, because there are religions that specifically use music to do good or bad things to other people. So again, it's being aware of the things that you consume. That's very important. And like I said, the frequency in which you consume those things. Because I know for me, I'm not the type of person that will listen to sad music when I cry, but actually I don't cry. But the thing is, I like how music makes me feel like I want to cry. I guess that's a weird feeling, but it's like when the music evokes such a strong emotion, but you don't necessarily feel that emotion, that it's very moving. I think that's the right word for it. I like how music moves me and drives me to do certain things. But I'm also the type of person that will listen to the same music all day, every day for too long. Literally right now, I'm in the point of listening to like indie music, but it's the same 2 songs over and over again, which is kind of unhealthy, but it drives me to be productive. I noticed when I put those 2 like songs, for one, I always like look up, if it's not in a foreign language, which most of the music I consume is, I always look up the English translation or the closest English translation of a song I can find, because I want to understand the stuff I'm consuming. I'm not just listening to it mindlessly because the background music sounds good. I want to understand the meaning behind why an artist puts out the things that they do, because I think that's important too. It's all about intention, not only your intention, but the intention behind the artist and everything they do. Because again, I like understanding why people are so in tune with their craft. So but I also like what the VP was saying, where in your editing community you bring up unknown artists, which is really cool. I know for me, I used to listen to this one guy and his band when they had like less than 2,000 views on their songs, and it's like they've been in the game since 2017, and I've seen him not only grow as a person but also an artist, and I think that's really cool how he's so in tune, and he didn't get discouraged by the fact that, hey, no one's really listening to my stuff, but I'm putting out the music for me. It's to show the people who I am and what I like, and I've transitioned and transcended the music, my craft, because it's not just a persona, but I'm still putting out versions of myself that are legit. And with a specific artist I'm talking about, his name is Kisnu, because it's no longer a band. It's like just him making his own stuff. And I like how he goes on the social media, and anytime there's like an anniversary for some parts of his music, he'll talk about why he wrote it at the time and what he was feeling or the things that he was going through in his life to express his craft in that sad way. So I think that's really cool as well, how different communities can uplift an artist, especially underground, indie, or whatever genre you're comfortable listening to, and have people understand that just because you don't listen to mainstream stuff, that doesn't mean that that genre or that artist isn't good.
Also, on a side note, like, there's this one thing, I don't know what to make of it, but anytime, like, a certain song gets popular, sometimes the song sounds, like, horrible to me. Like, I don't get why it's even, like, popular or trending, but then it keeps, like, popping up again and again, and I'll keep listening to it, and then my taste in music shifts, and I suddenly, like, start liking that certain song or that certain genre. That's never happened with country. I hate country. But it's just like weird how easily our opinions can also sway by hearing something over
Like
and
exposure
over.
therapy.
Yeah, exposure therapy basically. Like, I would hate a certain song. Like the song's called Champagne Coast. I thought that was just a depressing song. Like, why would people listen to it? Like, it sounds horrific. And then it kept popping on my For You page again and again. And I saw an edit of it, and I was like, never mind, this sounds awesome. And it's really weird how, like, music isn't, like, a constant thing. The way you hear it constantly changes because maybe when it's, like, unfamiliar to you, it just sounds bad. But then you keep listening to it, and it becomes more familiar, and then you think it's the greatest song in the world. And then right after, if you keep listening to it too much, then it becomes annoying to hear, like, somebody scratching at your ear or something. And I know some people don't deal with that, but I deal with that really often where I just get completely tired of a certain song and just, like, I guess fixate on another new one.
Oh, I know I experienced that too, for sure. But it's not necessarily that my taste in music changes. It, like, if I get exposed to a song too much, it'll become like an earworm to me, but I won't necessarily, like, engage in that form of art. An example of this would be, like, Strategy by Twice. Like, I never listened to that song personally, but it was on my For You page so much that, like, I sing it every day. But I never went out of my way to stream the song or watch the music video. I just know that part of the song, and because that's the only part of the song I know. Or same with, like, Gnarly by Cat's Eye. I personally don't think it's a good song, but I've heard it so much on my For You page. Yeah, I don't like Gabriella either, but I've heard it so much on my For You page that I can't help but sing it. But again, I'm not going out of my way to stream the song unless it's, like, as a joke. Like, I put it on my mom's YouTube algorithm, and now it's in her mix. But yeah, there's, like, I've experienced what you're talking about, sort of, but I'm not, like, my taste in music doesn't change. I still stream the same music day in and day out. Like, I know what I like, and that doesn't change somewhat. But, like, yeah.
Yeah. Off topic, but my biggest pet peeve is when, like, a song is super overhyped somewhere, but then you listen to the actual song and it's like, it doesn't sound good. It's like only the chorus that sounds good.
I think-
No offense.
Oh,
But
a lot of music is made like that, specifically because people know now that if they make a one clip of the song good, it's gonna blow up on TikTok, and that's all people make music for.
yeah, and that goes to our next topic of how, like, the integrity of music is, like, slowly being lost because people don't really care about putting their passion into their art anymore. It's more just how can we make this attention grabbing for the youth, or, like, how can we make this popular so that it gets really, really famous and then we can get big bucks from it. And, like, I feel like now in recent years, the music we listen to, the artists don't really have talent, but, like, they have mostly, like, a way to, like, auto-tune themselves to make the stuff they create really catchy, or, like, something that people just listen to over and over again. And I don't know, I don't really know any artists nowadays that, like, I feel actually have the talent and, like, they have the singing capabilities to do what they love and actually show that passion through their work. It's mostly just people clout chasing, and it's kind of sad to see. The only song that I feel like hasn't done that is New Person, Same Old Mistakes by Tame Impala, because that song never gets old. I always love it. Anyway, next.
He's not a new artist though.
He's not. I never said he
Oh,
was.
but I was gonna say, like, similar to that, it's like industry plants or the people that have connections in order to get where they are, or in order to use their clout to do other things in life. And a lot of TikTokers have done that, where you're not doing it for the love of the sport, you're doing it because you want to make additional money. You can be charismatic, but that doesn't also mean you're talented. You can be in tune with a part of your craft, but that doesn't make you good as a whole. Bars. Like, there's a lot of new artists out here that they have the charisma, or they'll have like an aspect of like, oh, I'm a good dancer, but your music is TikTok music. And that's not to compare them to the greats. Like, I'm not saying just because you don't sing and dance like Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston, that doesn't mean or Janet Jackson or whatever, that doesn't mean you're not talented. That doesn't mean that you can't sing. And when we were growing up, that doesn't mean they're always going to be in tune with their craft. I know that doesn't mean they're always going to be a great. And you can blow up, you can have your own downfall, and that doesn't mean you're less of an artist. That just means your time is not now, and that's okay. You're not always going to have the biggest and best music. You're not always going to be topping charts. But, as we conclude, we just want to say that we're not hating on anybody for listening to certain music or for having certain ideology, and that's okay. But as we conclude, we wanted to give a shout out to our socials as always, as we're working really hard and we're putting out these podcast episodes so you guys enjoy, but also for our enjoyment, because we're not getting paid at the end of the day. And I was on mute. But as we were saying, like, that goes along with the people that we consider greats in our own time. You're not always going to be topping charts. You're not always going to have the best music, and that's okay. Yeah, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, and that goes for anything. If you continue to make music because you love what you do, that's okay. But if you're doing it for money, then you do that. But there's a difference. I feel like I know for me, I can tell when someone's doing it because they love to do it, or if you're obligated by your company or for this, that, and the third. It's like, it shows in your music, whether you know it or not, or whether you like it or not. But that also means you're not always going to be at the top. You're not always going to be considered a great, because they're always going to be younger, newer, more so in the industry. And again, that's okay. But we don't want this to sound like a rant, so we'll be concluding. Before we do close, we wanted just to say this is just our opinion. We're not hating on anybody for listening to certain genres of music or being tainted by the TikTok or Instagram music that they consumed every day. As we conclude, we wanted to give a shout out to the socials, as we've been working really hard to put out TikToks and podcast episodes and really generate new and fresh ideas for you all. And we also wanted to give a shout out to Noisy Skyrim. He's been working really hard on his music, and he's a member of the SFLYAB, and we've been including his music as the intro and outro for the last couple podcast episodes. So thank you to him for that. He's coming out with new music soon, so stay tuned. But anyone is welcome to come on the podcast within reason. And don't forget to check us out on the Single Family Living YouTube, where our podcast is titled Crisis Era. And the TikTok and Instagram at SFLYAB and SFLYAB4. And we repost our TikToks on YouTube if you can't have those social media platforms. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. So peace, love, stay safe. Bye.